You're listening to the Teaching Toolbox with Brittany and Ellie. Join them as they talk all things middle school.
Welcome to the Teaching Toolbox podcast. I'm Ellie and I'm here with Brittany.
Hello.
And today we have a real treat for you. We have not one, not two, but three guests to share with you today as we talk about our first, best, and worst years of teaching. We have Andrea Addis from North Carolina, and she was a high school teacher for 8 years teaching social studies. She's the owner and operator of History Gal on TPT. Bridget Dober joins us from New York with some years of middle school and some years of high school teaching under her belt. The creator of Doodle Notes owns Math Giraffe on TPT. Last but definitely not least is Leah Cleary, living and teaching in Georgia with 23 years of experience at both the middle and high school level. Leah teaches the social studies, including AP level and psychology. Her store, Leah Cleary, is also on TPT. All of these stores will be available in the show notes if you want to check them out. So let's get started.
So, what was your first year of teaching like? Who wants to go first?
I can tell you a little bit about my dungeon classroom if you'd like to hear.
All right, go ahead.
So my first school was almost 80 years old, and it had been the high school for the school district way back. And you would enter and go down to the basement and then farther down a ramp. And down there was the entrance to the gym, which was even like lower down. You went into the bleachers and my room. And that was the only classroom in that hallway. And it was so bad that when you would push against the paneling along the wall, like mold spores would pop out of the room. It was so bad. And there were really no bulletin boards. So I just kind of made my own on the walls. I just kind of put up butcher paper wherever I felt like it and staple it into the walls because they were in such bad shape. It didn't matter anyway. So that was my classroom. I was lonely.
No windows?
Yeah, but you could only see people's feet because it was in the basement. So there's nothing really good to go look outside at. You know, it was actually the parking lot as well. So you could see the tires of the cars and people's feet.
That could be a fun writing activity.
Yeah. Might have even had like grates on it.
I was in a trailer. I thought that was bad. It's like in my own little isolated trailer. And so it felt very lonely. There wasn't much collaboration.
For sure. We had some of those in our district, but I never had to be in one. But did it also give you a little sense of just being able to do whatever you want because you were kind of by yourself, nobody was around?
A little bit. Yeah, you could set your own thermometer, so I could actually turn the heat on or the AC on if I needed to. So that was good. But mostly just remember first year being exhausting.
That's where you came up with some of those really fun lessons you have, right? Like the fall. Can you stop the fall of Rome?
Those
That's
all
my
came
favorite.
later. First year is just barely keeping my head above the ground of trying to figure out how to fill my time and how to teach. And yeah, it was I was in a new town, knew everything, and so it was difficult.
What did you teach that first year? Social studies, like?
I taught all of U.S. history, so it was good. U.S. history is what I wanted, and I had 5 preps. I think a couple were honors and a couple were standard, so it was mostly the same content. But it was eons ago, so it was before real technology. We had computers, but basically you just had to take your little floppy disk from one computer to the other.
Oh, yeah.
And it was creating everything from scratch. And so it was just keeping like one day of what I was, I was teaching, and then I was one day ahead.
And then if you had to be sick or something, then you were really scrambling, probably.
I got the flu.
Oh, no.
I remember I just put my head down on my desk and I was crying because I felt so bad. And my kids thought I had a nervous breakdown. And then when I did, I thought I was gone.
Oh, no. She's never coming back. Would you say that was your worst year or your best year? Or neither?
It is probably the worst year. I had several years later, I had the worst class I've ever had. But overall, I was in a much better school. And I was actually teaching in the same school my husband was, which was really fun.
Oh, nice.
But the first year it was bad. Just
What about you, Bridget?
I'm trying to remember if it was 6 or 7 preps my first year. So yeah, it was super overwhelming because you want to do the fun stuff. But of course, at that point, like even if you can plan one fun activity per week, per prep, like even that was almost impossible. And so then for them, it just feels like boring bookwork every day. Like you feel like you're trying so hard to make that happen. And yet it still can never happen. And so it's too much of the boring. Yeah. And that was really frustrating. I mean, for me and for them, I feel like that was really frustrating because you're just so overwhelmed.
Was that middle school or high school?
Yeah, it was middle, and then they're split by ability level. So you have the different, and then 8th grade homeroom, which has all the extra stuff of, graduation prep and all these, just all different things. They had to apply for high schools because, the private school, it's all the application process in the winter and then all the stuff in the spring. And so it was just very overwhelming.
Wow.
What about you, Leah?
Oh man. So my first year was probably also my worst year, and my first year was really a half a year. So I was in grad school, and I didn't go to like my bachelor's, I didn't go to be a teacher. And so I did for grad school, and I knew I had to student teach, but I also had to work. And I had been waiting tables while I was in grad school, but they told me that I couldn't do that while I was student teaching. So against the wishes of the like powers that be in the program that I was in, I went and got a job. But the job I got was at a struggling school that, let's see, they had fired the teacher at mid-year for a lot of different things. I mean, there had been like fires set in his classroom, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there was a gang problem at the school. It was a rough school. We weren't allowed to stay past like 4 p.m. We had to get out. It was rough. It's kind of trial by fire because I didn't student teach. I just went in and was kind of dropped into it. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it or change it, but it was difficult. I remember like Andrea crying, like putting my head down. I didn't have the flu. I didn't have that excuse, but like putting my head down on my desk and just sobbing. I probably really was having a nervous breakdown. And later, the assistant principal told me that she hired me because I had described myself. She asked for an adjective, and I said, "Oh, tenacity." And yeah, so I used that word, and so she hired me, even though I had no experience, and I stuck with it. But
So
I did not go back the next year. Went to a different school in a different county. Middle school, and I did that for 2 years and then went back to high school.
Brittany, how about your first year?
It was rough, just like everybody's. I was hired a week into training because the returning 6th grade teacher decided to quit. And so I missed the first week of training, which was a 2-week long training. So I didn't understand anything of what they were doing. And I had to have somebody else come in and teach my spelling and grammar because I didn't understand the program until like halfway through the year. In October, my husband and I went to see the leaves change colors, and I was trying to get different colored leaves to give to my kids and laminate for them and make little bookmarks for all of them. And I accidentally picked poison sumac and got it all over my face, and my eye swelled shut, and it took the dermatologist and the doctor 3 weeks to even figure out what it was.
Oh, no.
And so from like middle of October until the end of November, my face was all itchy, swollen, puffy red.
Oh, no.
I think you win, Brittany. Oh, no.
And then in November, I got mono from one of the kids or something. And so then I was out most of November and early December. And then I came back for a week. And then we had a wedding to go to in California. And there were only like 12 people invited to the wedding. So it was very like intimate, close affair. And my husband was the best man, and so we couldn't miss it. So we went to the wedding, and that led right into Christmas break. And then I came back, and I had pneumonia in January. And then I was great for February and March. And then in April, we went bowling as a class, and I went past the line and fell and broke my thumb in 3 places.
Oh, my gosh.
And they had to do a nuclear scan to even find the break because it was so like fine. But then I had my whole hand like up to the fingertips in a cast. And this is back when we had to like handwrite report cards.
Oh, yeah.
And so then I had to handwrite my report card in triplicate.
Oh, my gosh.
With a pen jabbed up my cast.
It's a wonder you ever went back. Wow.
So,
but how were the kids that year? Were they
the kids
with
were
all of that?
awesome. The kids were awesome. I had 2 Kelseys, 2 Brittany's, 2 Jessies.
Wow, you remember that. That's awesome.
Yeah, but the kids were good. Oh, and I had another teacher in the school, complained that I said, like, I messed something up. And I said to the kids, I'm sorry, I screwed up. And she complained to the board of directors that I said the words screwed to the kids.
Wow.
Times have changed.
So that was fun. That was not my worst year, though.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say that was your worst year. Now I'm scared. Because, like, literally, that was my worst year, my first year. And it wasn't even a full year, thank goodness.
So whose first year was their worst year? Andrea's and Leah's? Okay, so...
And it wasn't a full year. See, it was half a year.
My second is probably a little worse, only because they added one more prep.
Gee.
Since I didn't have enough. But it was, there were no more times in the schedule. So it was 2 different classes in the same room at the same time. 1 pre-algebra, 1 algebra 1. And I was supposed to magically teach both at once, 2 completely different courses in the same room at the same time at different levels, and split them and kind of bounce back and forth, which is impossible with 7th graders. And there were, I think, probably almost 30 kids total. So it wasn't even like 2 small groups in the same room at the same time. It was completely impossible.
That reminds me of one of my years. Like, I have trouble thinking of the worst, and it's probably because my memory's not great. But you saying that reminds me that one of the years that I taught 4th grade, We were starting fourth grade in that building. There was no fifth grade, and there were advanced math students. And so I had the high group, and I was supposed to teach fourth grade and fifth grade math in the same, like, it was probably an hour, so there was a little more time. And I think I ended up having them split into 3 groups. And it was like juggling those 3 groups, 2 like at the fourth grade level, 1 at the fifth grade level, and it was probably 25 to 30 kids like that. And trying to figure out every single day how to manage all that and get them all where they needed to be with everything that they needed. That was really tough.
Yeah.
Planning wise, for sure. That might have been my worst planning year. The kids were good, but the planning was hard because I also taught social studies and language arts that year too.
That's a lot.
Elementary school.
And when I say that my worst year was that first year, it was just so traumatic. But I have blocked, I think, the most traumatic, and that was 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
That was COVID. But yeah, I don't like to think about it, so I don't.
It's not even there.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I really have blocked that out. The whole time that we were on Zoom was miserable, and then going back to the classroom for the 2020-2021 school year when we did the hybrid learning, that was not fun. Just, having to like teach the kids virtually while you're teaching the kids in person. It was nowhere near what Bridget was talking about. You didn't have like 2 separate subjects that you were teaching, but it was a lot, So any teacher who made it through that, I think most of us would probably say that was our hardest.
Definitely. Mine was in 2008 to 2009. And I had been a 6th grade lead for 10 years, and the principal had changed to a female who happened to just be very threatened by other females. And the year prior to this, she had run the whole entire 5th grade out of the school. They all quit and left because she was just so over them constantly, monitoring everything they did, critiquing them constantly. Well, then the next year, she did that to 6th grade. And she did not like us because we were just really strong, capable women, and we felt very confident. And she especially did not like me. And so the kids were awesome that year, but she spent most of that year finding every little possible way to give me a reprimand that she could. And it would be like somebody down the hall could do something, and then I could do the exact same thing, but I'd get a reprimand and they wouldn't. And it was just, it became mind-numbingly just insane. I actually have PTSD from her because of how stressful it became.
Did she leave after that, or did you leave after that?
I left after that because I could see the writing on the wall. I wasn't going to be asked back. They were going to reprimand me until they considered me unfit to be a teacher. And so I left. She ended up sticking around for about 2 more years, and then her husband got stationed in Georgia.
Oh.
And so she went to Georgia, and then he only stayed in the military for about 2 more years, and then they moved back here, and the school refused to hire her back.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of my, like, karma moment. Like, oh, thank God,
And Brittany, that really is miserable, and that's legitimate PTSD. I've seen that happen to friends of mine at schools where I've worked, where fortunately I've had like a strong department chair who's protected me and the rest of the department. But when they do that, it's almost impossible to do your job. And you're on edge all the time. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. I'm sorry you went through that. That's terrible.
Yeah, I was the department chair, so I was trying to protect the other four in the group. But all of them decided to leave that year as well, except for one tutor. One tutor stayed behind, and she actually just retired this year from that school.
Oh, wow.
She stayed this long.
A little scary that one administrator can have that impact.
Yeah, that was an administrator is one reason why my first year is my worst. And it's because there's stuff going on in the background, but because I was a new teacher, so you got lots of evaluations, and every single evaluation, it was like I was getting beat down about all kinds of things about how horrible I was doing. And so it was just like kind of get on top of everything else. But it was, I mean, the reason that there was a social studies teacher who was a football coach who lost his football coach position because of some inappropriate things that he did, which wasn't illegal then, but now is now illegal. And so they needed to hire a new football coach. And I'm the last one hired. And the person wanted is a social studies teacher. So you need to have a reason to move somebody out, to move somebody else in. But it was like something that they knew that was going to be doing it. It was just like they were building up evidence as to why they weren't going to hire me back. So yeah, I resigned and we actually moved to a different state. And I did substitute teaching for a while. And I was like, wow, substitute teaching, there's like no stress. Class is bad. You'd be like, you know what? I'm back. But I ended up going into a long-term sub position. I found a county that was great. I found the long-term sub position was great. I was like, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like. You have an administration that's actually like supportive, and you have colleagues who are actually helpful, and you feel like you're in a community. You're not just by yourself. And then transition to a job for I guess I started in January to finish out the year. And that's when I got a world history position. And I hate world history. And then I started teaching it. I was like, oh, world history's kind of fun.
Leah looks shocked that you're like, you hate it?
It's my favorite. It's my favorite. I'm department chair in at my high school for social studies, and nobody ever wants to teach world history, but it's my absolute favorite. And so I don't understand that. I'm like, why don't you want to teach world history?
But now you love it.
Teachers who helped me learn to love it. And then, yeah, I ended up not staying in Virginia, except for that time we moved back to North Carolina. But just having like a total opposite experience and realizing that where you are, as you know, students make are important too, but like the community, the culture of the school and the admin makes a huge difference.
It does.
It really does. A bad admin can the teacher attrition's a problem. And so like if you've got really high numbers, they really need to look at the admin.
Yeah. Yep. So let's end on a high note. What was your best year, your favorite year? What's the one you look back at most fondly? Bridget, how about you?
Okay, my favorite was teaching high school geometry in an all-girls school, surprisingly. And I was surprised how much I loved that because I have all brothers and I really enjoy, teaching boys. It is fun, but it was just so easy with only girls. And that was shocking. And high school was just so much easier than grade school. And I love geometry. So it was my jam. Teaching proofs and logic is my absolute favorite. But the crazy thing about it was The best thing was it was a block schedule, and I only had 2 blocks, so I did not have to show up until 11 o'clock. Unless I wanted to, like, cover I did, like, a long-term sub in the morning blocks for, like, a film class, like, things like that, and then they would pay me extra, but it was unbelievable because I showed up at 11 o'clock, had an easier job, only 1 prep, taught it twice, and my paychecks were the same as when I was maybe even more, I'm trying to remember, as when I was having the incredibly stressful, 7 preps, and so I was just, like, mind blown. It's not always that rough, and so that was
Very nice.
Well, I'll jump in and say that I've had a lot of really good years. And so I can say that the first best I remember was my 5th year teaching. That was the first best because that was the first year that I had the same prep 2 years in a row. And it was multiple preps, but Bridget, it wasn't 7. I mean, it was like 2 preps, right? And I had taught it for 2 years in a row, and I just felt really relaxed. It was high school. It was the block schedule. And it was English, of all things, because I've taught, I've spent the majority of my career teaching social studies. And so I just remember just having fun and just really enjoying it that year. The 5 years, it was magical. And then I'd say I also remember 2017 when I went over to the school where I'm teaching now, and all day long I was teaching world history, and that was so much fun for me because I love world history. So
I would say my second best year was the year before I got all the reprimands. I had an awesome group of kids. We actually got moved at Thanksgiving because of mold. And so we got moved to a different school in the district that just had extra room. And my kids were so good about like packing up the classroom and moving us and everything. And I had just a wonderful group of kids who were so supportive. I had one kid who was as low as 1st grade, and he worked so hard, and now he's a pilot.
Oh, wow.
And I love that group of kids. And and then I had my tutor's daughter in that class, and I love that family. And so it was just a really special year. But my all-time favorite year was actually my 2nd year. I was pregnant with my daughter, Reagan, and she was giving me round ligament syndrome, which is where, as your belly expands, one of your ligaments twists, and it causes immense pain just periodically, randomly, when the baby moves. And so I would get so much pain, I would almost pass out from, I would get so dizzy and stuff. And so I would get up and teach my kids like a grammar lesson, and then I would lay on the floor behind my desk with my feet up so I wouldn't pass out while they practiced their grammar or did their homework or did a pair share repair or whatever. And they were so well behaved. They didn't goof around or anything. And if someone came in the room and was like, "Where's Mrs. Nauyik?" they'd be like, "She's lying on the floor behind her desk." And before I got pregnant, we would play football together at recess and stuff. It was a perfect year. I love that group. What about you, Ellie?
There are so many things that can make a year good that it's hard to choose just like one year. Like I'm thinking, I remember the first year that I taught, when we would get ready for field day, I would race the kids because I could run fast then. I was young, but like fun things like that. We built a Halloween float that year. One of the parents wanted to get us in the Halloween parade, and they got all the supplies and the truck and everything. And we built this Halloween float to go in the Halloween parade, and then other years, the team that you teach with is so great that even if other things aren't great, they carry you through, and they make the years great. And so I think one of the best years teaching wise was a year in middle school where they were trying something with having really low math class sizes. And I had classes of 12 and 15. And that was such a fun teaching year because we could do so many things and, be out of their seats so much and write on the boards in different places and do stuff on whiteboards. And I could be so close to them and see so well what they were doing and what they were understanding, that kind of thing, that I think as far as teaching wise, that was one of my favorite years. But yeah, there's so many things that can make a year good. It's hard to choose just one.
My very favorite year, I got to a different high school. I ended up teaching U.S. history and world history. And I don't know if y'all have had this experience where you have coworkers that everything just kind of gels and you have a really good group of people to teach with and be along with. My husband was actually teaching at that school too, which was really cool, but just had really fun colleagues where we could bounce ideas off of each other and do things together. I had other world history colleagues and we came up with really fun things. We did a kickball game to simulate World War I, which was fun. They did all kinds of just really fun things. And then, the next year, some people leave and then more new people came in and it just wasn't quite the same. After that, it was kind of like the all-star cast, all the teachers who we all really worked really well together.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So whether it is bad, straight out of the gate, and you're questioning your life choices, or you love it immediately and you know it's your calling, someone else has been there before you and is probably there right now. Breathe deep, give yourself grace, celebrate your wins, love on your students, and teach them the best you can. And remember to do things you love as well. Teaching is a long game. It involves lots of learning, growing, failing, and succeeding along the way.
We hope by hearing these stories you have realized you're not alone, no matter where you are in your teacher journey. Grab the tools you need and add them to your toolbox, and then share this episode with a friend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
You just listened to the Teaching Toolbox. Follow them on your favorite platform for more episodes and share it with a friend.